Hey there, Devin here. It is May 12th, which means we are 55 days, I think, into coronavirus isolation, quarantine, end of the world stuff. Uh, Thought I'd talk about three quick things today. Nothing to do with fitness. The first one we're going to talk about a little bit is The Last Dance. So, probably like a lot of you guys out there, I've been watching The Last Dance, the Micheal Jordan documentary. I kind of wish Netflix would have dropped them all at one time because frankly, I would have watched them all in one day and maybe even gone back again and watched them again. I thought it was really well done. Love the show. Though my fiance and I had an argument yesterday, last evening when I watched it. Jordan was talking about how hard he was on, his teammates, and she thought that was ridiculous, and I thought, well, you know what? If that's what it takes to win, that's what it takes to win. My experience has been anybody who is very, very successful in what they do, and being the best at what they do, tend to have a single-mindedness, a purpose, where they don't care about anybody else's feelings or what's happening or anything else. It is, I'm getting there. Period. End of discussion. Now we can make an argument that you're just being a jackass, which is probably true. I don't think anybody's going to say Micheal Jordan was a nice guy on the court. But results, the question comes down to whether or not you believe that winning a championship is the most important thing, or you believe being a nice person is an important thing. Personally, I think that you can be a nice person and get people to do some good work. However, I think there's a good way to inspire people. However, Michael's way obviously was very, very different. I will say this, who am I to say that he's wrong? Because he definitely, his experience on that across the board, I mean, he was the best player in basketball. He won 6 championships in basically 6 years. I mean, there's that half a year, but it doesn't really count. My other interesting thoughts about that, I have read some stuff on Twitter and things where people are saying, well, yeah, Jordan was the best player in basketball. He didn't win those games by himself. This is true. You don't win any sport by yourself unless you're playing tennis or you're a sprinter or you're a singular sport. You don't win by yourself. So yeah, Jordan needed some help around him. Everybody needs help around him. I mean, Jerry Rice had Joe Montana and Steve Young. Everybody has some help around them. That's the point. It doesn't change the fact that he's still the best basketball player. And the best basketball player who has ever played the game, I would say. I mean, people talk about Kobe or LeBron James, but in reality, those guys can't keep up to what Jordan did. I think there's a great video out there with Kobe talking about going out and getting beaten by Michael, and he was so insistent that he wasn't going to be beaten by Michael with this one move. And then Michael beat him on it, and then as they went back down the court, Michael looked at him and said, "It's a lot faster in person, isn't it?" Which is funny to hear, and at the same time shows, he was joking around, but at the same time, I mean, he was the best of the best at the time. Anyway, if you get a chance, it's called The Last Dance. It's on Netflix. Even if you're not a sports fan and you're not a Micheal Jordan fan, it's a very interesting look into him and the Bulls of the 90s, who were definitely the most dominant team of the 90s, and probably there's that one year there that they won 72 games, probably the best team of all time. So an interesting look into it. The other couple things I wanted to talk about today, Jerry Stiller, who's Ben Stiller's dad, passed away, which is a huge shame. Anybody who knows Seinfeld at all, if you're close to my age, knows Jerry Stiller because he played George Costanza's dad. Probably the funniest, or some of the funniest lines ever on Seinfeld came from him. A Festivus for the rest of us. I mean, people are still saying that joke. I hear that joke constantly. Even my kids, who are 18 and 14, get the Festivus joke when you make it, which is pretty impressive because I think Festivus is probably one of the biggest lines that came out of Seinfeld, that everybody remembers it being, Festivus and all those other things. So it's pretty cool that, he had a piece in all those lines, along with lines like, you want a piece of me. If you're a Seinfeld fan, with him going, you want a piece of me? You'll get it. And then Blooper, if you get a chance, his and Julia Louis-Dreyfus is going back and forth with Bloopers, with him saying you want a piece of me and her not being able to keep it together, is fantastic. It has like 8 bajillion hits on YouTube. Definitely worth looking up because it's super funny. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a very good actress, and she's can't keep it together at all, and he manages to stay serious the whole time, which makes it even funnier. It's anyway, huge shame to see him pass away. I think he was in his 90s. I think it was 92. I read. Yeah. Anyway, my favorite stuff he's done is Seinfeld. I mean, I thought he knocked it out of the park with Seinfeld. So a shame to see him pass away. But if you get a chance, look up some of his clips, like the Festivus, You Want a Piece of Me, or Jerry, Mr. Sidebreader's here, George is dead, call me back. If you're a Seinfeld fan, you'll get that joke too. And he's fantastic across the board. It's well worth looking up. Even if you're not a Seinfeld fan, some of the jokes are very funny. And the last one I really want to hit on, it was 40 years ago, actually yesterday, on the 11th, the movie Goodfellas came out. Goodfellas, super interesting movie. It's a gangster movie, obviously. I can't believe it's been out for 40 years. It's crazy, but one of the best gangster movies I think ever made. It's just fantastic, and it's actually based on a true story. I've read the gentleman who actually, I use it loosely, the guy in the movie who actually was the gangster. I've read, I think he put out 3 books. I've read all 3 of them. Interesting guy, a little crazy, definitely nuts, but well worth watching. It's if you get a chance and you like gangster movies at all. It's violent. It is, Joe Pesci's in it. Robert De Niro is in it. Ray Liotta plays the lead. He's fantastic. It's just across the board one of the best gangster movies you'll ever see. If you're not up for some violence and a lot of swearing, probably not the thing to do. But what it's about the I can't say the Lufthansa. I don't know. It's an airline. Starts with LUF. I can never say it. Even when I hear it and read it, I can't say it. It's about that heist, and they stole millions of dollars. And then when they stole all that money, they started getting freaked out because some of the people that were involved in the theft started, spending money, and they didn't like them spending money, so they started killing them. And it was a lot of people died, but a very interesting movie about a true story. And when I read the book, the movie stuck pretty closely to the book. So it's definitely worth watching. Goodfellas, if you get a chance to go watch that. That's that. And the last thing, I got to go on CTV again yesterday. I was talking about rent deferrals. I'm not a huge fan of rent deferrals in general. I think rent deferrals are stupid. The reason I think rent deferrals for commercial or residential in general is dumb is because you're just putting off paying until tomorrow. I think that's called, robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's the saying. I mean, basically, you're just taking out loans or whatever, and you're deferring money until later on, but you're going to have to pay that. At some point, you got to pay the piper. And that's why I hate rent deferrals. If I have a rent deferral for 3 months and I got to pay it all in the 4th month, but I don't have any money in intermediate months, that just doesn't work. It's stupid. And it's a shame that here in Nova Scotia, Stephen McNeil keeps pumping it out there as this great way to solve the problem with commercial rent during coronavirus is that, just put it all off. It'll be fine. Just push it all off. And I just want to say to Stephen McNeil, you should try to figure the blazes out how business works, because he likes his little catchphrases with the blazes in there. So I just like to throw that in. Yeah, in the end of the day, that's what I was talking about on CTV, why it was silly. And actually, I was fortunate enough, Liam Hennessy's a good friend of mine, actually was also on. We weren't together because obviously during coronavirus it can't be. But I thought Liam Hennessy had a really good point. He said, what I don't understand and I'm struggling to get is why landlords are the one business that everybody's saying, well, you shouldn't lose any money during coronavirus. Everybody else will lose. You guys should be fine. And to me, that pretty much summed up the whole issue around coronavirus and rent. I mean, we have problems with commercial rent for businesses, but we also have huge problems with residential rent and people who can't pay. The stat is right now, it looks like 30% of people did not pay their rent in May, that's a lot, but come June, that'll be a 50-60% ratio. And then what? And I'm not saying landlords are terrible people. They're not. Many of those landlords need help too, especially the small ones. They need help from their banks and from government. Like, everybody needs to help everybody in this. And that's why I don't like the fact that, our premier, Stephen McNeil, likes to come out there and say, oh, well, just push it off. Okay, Steve, whatever. He doesn't understand anything about business. He obviously, I thought the guy was bright. He can't be very bright if he's pushing that out, or he has a vested interest, or there's a lobby or something that's happening with that. But, obviously he's not, he doesn't understand business. He's willfully refusing to do it. So either he's too stupid to understand, or he is willfully ignoring it. Either way, it's bad. You know what? And it's a shame. I liked the guy before. I thought he was pretty good. And now I lost a lot of my respect for him, which is a shame, but those things happen. Anyway, my last note, it was a beautiful day yesterday. It's nice that we all can actually go outside a little bit. May has been rough. I know when my parents moved here in 1974, they moved to Cape Breton. There was a snowstorm in the middle of May. I think it was the 15th or 18th or something like that. My mom took a picture because she was so horrified. She come from New Jersey. She was so horrified. There was a snow in May. She just couldn't believe it. But go figure, we'll be having some snow in May. So hopefully the weather will continue to get better, but it looks better at the end of the week. Get out, enjoy it. Everybody stay safe. Have yourself a great day. Devin out.